Hi, you may be wondering what a learning coach is at PSD Virtual Academy. Well, let's talk about what a learning coach is and what a learning coach does. First of all, a learning coach is simply an adult who has agreed to and is committed to supporting a student in their online learning. Now, typically, this is a parent, but it doesn't have to be. A learning coach can be a grandparent, an aunt or an uncle, an adult sibling, anyone who has a relationship with the student and is agreeing to support them in their learning. One of the things that we'll do as an online school at PSD Virtual is provide training for those learning coaches so that you know exactly how and what supports your student will need. And that will be at the beginning of the school year. Now, uh, outside of just knowing that's a learning coach's role, what I have to tell you is that it looks different. What a learning coach does looks different for every student and at all the different levels, elementary, middle, and high school. I can give you some basic information about it, but you will find out in working with your student that they all need different things. You probably already know that. So for elementary students, those students are going to need a little more time through the day. It will typically be most of the school day. They need support. And some of it will be with logging in and meeting with their teacher. And some of it will be with actually looking at the lesson and essentially delivering a scripted lesson to your child and recording kind of their results or how they learned it, the assessment results, so that the teacher has that information. So that's a full school day. Those elementary school students, especially our primary students, will need an adult present for most of their learning. Now in middle school, many of our middle schoolers still need that as well. You know your student. And so you may have a student who needs a little less support than that, but in middle school, more of the teaching moves to the teacher, and there's not that on the learning coach, but there is, helping support them with the skills they need to be good online learners, planning their day, filling out a planner, supporting them in organizing lessons and those big projects, helping them to communicate with teachers to get answers to their questions, researching answers to questions online, things like that. So it could be just a little bit of time every day, or it could also be a good chunk of their school day with your middle schooler, depending on your student and their readiness for online learning. The same thing is true for high school as is for middle school. And again, you know your child best. I have had two online learners in my home in high school. One of them required me to sit down with her probably once a week and say, okay, show me what's happening in your classes. Let's talk about teachers you need to communicate with or your priorities as we move forward in this school week. I would take a look at her planner. I would, I would spend about an hour kind of coaching her in some of those skills and supporting her. I also had another student, same age, engaged in online learning, and he required daily support. Not so much with the content as the teachers were able to support that, but it required me checking in every single day. Sometimes as he was working in school and sometimes after the school day. So several hours a week supporting that student. Again, different students, same age, require different levels of support. We'll train you in how to do that and in what good learning coach support looks like, but just know it'll vary by child, especially in high school. So the main thing I want you to get from this is every student needs a learning coach. Every student needs that support. And it's always better to start off with more support with your students. I've heard learning coaches say, I thought they could do this, so I just let them do it. And now I find out they're not turning in their work and they're on Instagram instead of logged in and doing their online lessons. So it's always better to start out with more support, right? We want to support kids in learning those skills they need to be successful online learners. And so start out with more support and back off as you are able to, but don't completely diminish the support. They all need it. But we want students to start out and be successful first, not fail first. So success builds on that success. So every student needs a learning coach that needs to start out strong with them and then adjust based on their needs. Again, we'll train you to do that and train you in having the skills to navigate what your students are navigating and knowing how to support them. The other incredibly important part of being a learning coach is partnership with the teacher. This changes through the levels of elementary, middle, and high school, but we need someone to take on being that first line of communication in supporting the student. And this is incredibly important. Not only will you attend conferences, but communicate as needed, sometimes ongoing, to talk about what your child needs at school, and we can talk with you about the supports they might need at home. But that partnership is so integral at every level at PSD Virtual, but we have to have that strong communication and teaming happening for each child. That's an important part of the learning coach role. We'll explain more to you at orientation, but before your student enrolls at PSD Virtual, you need to designate who their learning coach is and have them ready to support your student in their